Hello, Weight Loss Winformation winners. I'm to have you with us today. We've had so many exciting guests lately, and today is no different. And this time we have a guy. I am so excited to have a male on this podcast. We need more males in the bariatric world, in the community, who are willing to speak up and share what they have been through and what they know and are giving to others. And today's guest is Aaron Goodman, and I'll let him introduce himself in just a minute. But I want to say that Aaron is giving back to the bariatric community in such an amazing and selfless way. So I can't wait for us all to learn more about his journey and what he is doing to give back to the community. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here.
I want you to know Aaron is one of my favorite names. I have a daughter named Aaron, and if she was a boy, she was also going to be Aaron.
Hey, I will take it. We're going to have just a massive number of errands taking over. It will hopefully be for Gen Z's kids, like the baby name number one of their kids.
I'll tell you, my name actually is one of the names that is supposed to be going extinct, which I totally understand. All the women my age are like Karen and Diane and Debbie. We are all going extinct, and that's okay with me.
Hey, I think I'm used to such beautiful names from all of our generations that sometimes I feel sorry for these kids these days. Like when they go to the souvenir shops, like when they're traveling, and you look for like
Right?
the pocket knives and the Matchbox cars and all the things with all the kids' names on them. A lot
Yes.
of these really trendy names now they don't have them. So
Not
hey,
happening for sure. For sure. Well, thank you for being with me today.
man, thank you for inviting me. This is really quite an honor because you've had so many power guests, and for me to get to come on their heels, as well as I know some of the ones that you've got coming up, it's just such an honor to be with you.
Well, you and I have spoken just a few times, and I have really enjoyed our talks. You're funny, you're very well spoken, and you should be. You're an attorney, correct?
I am. I don't know that I think I'm funny, but hopefully, the way the camera's going to portray me isn't that your audience is going to be laughing at me for the way I look. So if we get past that, then I'm good.
Yes. How long have you been an attorney? I'm really truly looking forward to hearing more about your story and how you got to be where you're at. So, did you always want to be an attorney, and where do you live? You're way out west.
Yeah, I'm way out in the Midwest in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is God's country. It is amazing out here. I would definitely, recommend Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma, and I've been here. I came here when I was 22 years old.
Wow.
I moved from California, graduated college in San Diego, which is an amazing town, and that is
Mhm.
really my favorite place in California. And I came out here to go to law school, and here we go. We're gonna throw this back where half your audience is probably younger than me, but I moved out here in 1995 to go to law school. Went to the University of Tulsa, go Hurricanes, and then became a lawyer at age 25, which was
Wow.
in 1998. I've been a lawyer ever since then,
Oh my
and
God, you're a baby.
oh, whatever, So I'm a grumpy old man, which is why I want your audience to see that, I have this gray hair on my chin. I have gray hair on my head. And so that, don't look like a 14-year-old otherwise. So this way it kind of proves that and I tell your audience, I'm the grumpiest old man they will the most, let me put it this way, clarify it. I'm the most joyful, grumpy old man that they're ever going to
Perfect.
meet. So,
What a great combination. So what kind of law do you do?
So I practice mainly civil defense and I do a lot of mediation as well, but predominantly what I do is defend people who find themselves sued in a lawsuit. So
Mm,
all of those billboard lawyers all over the country that advertise them, those are my opponents. And so I get
okay.
along great with them. I have fun with them and I hold them to the line of, hey, prove your case. So,
Okay. I
yeah, so it's a lot of
Love
fun.
that. Very good. So not everybody is seeing you on video, but for those who are and those who aren't, behind you are three cases and they've got all these medals in there. What are those medals? I'm just curious. When I talked to you the first time, I think I said, "Are those Boy Scout medals?"
That's right. No, I actually, let's be honest now, my scouting career, although my son is an Eagle Scout and I worked with him
Nice.
to become an Eagle Scout, I never got
Nice.
past, I think it's like the very first level of Cub Scouts. So it's like, yeah, I don't have any scouting medals to speak of, but I do collect law enforcement patches, the shoulder patches, and I've done that ever since I was in high school because I really, really wanted to go into law enforcement. And if
Oh,
I
wow.
hadn't gone to law school, I would have gone to law enforcement. I still love law enforcement. I find it intellectually fascinating. And as a lawyer, I've gotten to work around law enforcement issues at times. And so I enjoy it. But actually, on my wall, I've got, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 boards of patches. Plus, I have
Wow, that's
more at
cool.
home. So,
That's
yeah,
really cool.
it's one of those things, doctor, where it's like some people collect X, Y, and Z trinkets or Studio 57 paraphernalia or whatever. I
Mhm.
collect police patches, and so that
That's
is like,
cool.
unfortunately, yeah. I guess when I was younger, it was more of an obsession for me because it's like getting your passport stamped. You just want to get them, and there's just more than you can possibly get. So that's what they are.
Excuse me.
Bless
Sneezing's
you.
not allowed on podcasts, my goodness. Ooh,
Hey, snoozing's not allowed, which I hope your audience isn't gonna snooze when they listen to me, but sneezing's okay so long as you're not sneezing on the camera, right? Like, that's the
exactly.
only probably bare bones minimum rule in podcasting, right?
That's funny. I always cover my mouth when I'm sneezing, and I have this physician who's a client of mine, and we'll be doing video sessions. He said, you don't have to cover your mouth using a video." I'm like, "It's just my good habits, doctor."
I'm always
So,
afraid that with the camera on, to be honest with you, that there's gonna be some, kinda hot mic moment or something like that that's gonna get captured on camera, like, I don't know, Aaron's, like, fiddling with his hair or whatever, so, yeah, I would be paranoid otherwise, so, yeah.
living in infamy. Yes. Okay, so let's hear about your own journey with the disease of obesity.
So, I actually never really intended I, as you well know, you and I sort of found each other through, um well, obviously through Dr. Susan Mitchell. I mean,
Mhm.
and I found her through connections in the bariatric world because I am a post-operative bariatric patient. I had a gastric sleeve in June of 2019, and kind of took off from there. I never intended to ever get bariatric surgery. As far as like, it was never something on my radar up
Mhm.
until uh, probably late 2018, and it had to do with, I learned about bariatric surgery from the nurse at my nephrologist's office, and he had it. He was telling me about it, and I had also known people that had it, but it was never something on my radar. Well, I was somebody who had kidney disease that was diagnosed probably, I want to say, probably really trending on the labs in 2015 and 2016. I ended up having surgery in
Hmm.
2017 where my right kidney was removed because of what turned out to be, fortunately, not a carcinogenic tumor, but actually a benign tumor, but it was a kidney tumor that I had
Wow.
that overtook my right kidney. And so that was the first
Dang.
major surgery. Yeah, I know. And it was the first major surgery I had ever had. So, here I am, going into surgery to have a kidney removed that may or may not be at the time, a cancerous tumor. I didn't know that till they were able to biopsy it once they removed it from my body. But I mean, the kidney, all the hardware, everything that went along with the right side was removed. So I have one kidney right now, and it
Wow.
does, and still continue to have kidney disease. So as a result of that, it was something where I had to do something to lose weight, and it was something that I was overweight, had the high blood pressure, had a whole bunch of um, related issues to the kidney that stemmed from that high blood pressure and the kidney disease.
Oh,
So that's
no.
what kind of brought me into this whole world of with my obesity that then translated into a step to address that.
Were you overweight as a kid?
I was always overweight as a kid. I was the husky. So our generation, Gen X, right? It was referred to guys as husky. I was
Right.
husky. I mean,
Yeah.
just without a doubt. Yeah, I like to eat. I had the genetics. I had the behavior. I was husky.
And your family also?
So for the most part, my siblings weren't, and my mom wasn't really on dad's side. In his relatives, I just didn't know what obesity was at the time, but looking back
Sure.
on it, absolutely, uh, classic obesity.
Okay. All right. So now you were practicing law, the kidney disease, the high blood pressure, and the weight. So it came to your attention that there was this bariatric surgery thing.
Exactly, and, it was interesting because when at least most people, and I found even physicians that are not dialed into nutrition and not dialed into modern bariatric practices, when you discuss bariatric surgery with them, the only thing they say, and it comes to mind, is, oh, bypass, the Roux why.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's funny. The reason I bring that up is because I had, like most physicians that aren't savvy to this, had assumed that when you get bariatric surgery, it's just a bypass. I didn't even know what a sleeve was up
Mhm.
until shortly, maybe like 2 years before um, I had bariatric surgery, in knowing other people that had the procedure. And so it is something that I roll into this, bariatric surgery as a possibility and an outlet for, oh man, this is a real like game changer to be able to lose my weight and hopefully address the swelling and some of the blood pressure issues that I was
For
having.
sure.
So
Let me ask you a question, and this is just for my own curiosity because I know there are some really, and you don't need to say where you had your surgery, the doctor, or anything. I'm just curious because in my own experience, there are some truly amazing programs out there who really do a good job in terms of preparation and offering a lot of aftercare sorts of things. What did you have to do in terms of your preparation for the surgery through your program?
sure, that's a great question. So I actually had my surgery at a facility here in Tulsa, a well-known, well-respected facility that is a doctor-owned facility. And so the physician that I had that did my surgeon was part of that organization. Also did surgeries for another large scale bariatric facility here in the Tulsa area. And so I had the perfect outcome when it came to the surgery. I had like, I've described it as a textbook perfect surgery. My surgeon was just a master at his craft, did
Excellent.
everything perfectly. Yeah, I mean, I was blessed beyond measure. I had no complications, none of the reflux issues that are common with a
Mhm.
sleeve. Now he did put me on 6 months of famotidine, which is standard practice, or was in the day that I had surgery. So it was something that I also did the preventative that I needed to after the
Right.
fact. Now, all of that to say, I'm not dodging your question. What did I have to do beforehand? Consult. I had to have the psychiatric consult. I had to
Psychological
have
eval.
the um,
Yeah.
now I'm blanking on this, right? Like you would say, like we're going back 6.5 years. They do to do the and this is so
No, it's
embarrassing to your
not.
audience, right? Like I'm totally blank. I'm like, I can do those three. But I can see the doctor who I went to, but I had to go for two other additional consults because there's just five
Right.
that you need to do. And so I cleared all of those. I did actually have to do the overnight sleep study, which I had never done
Did
that, but I went
you
here.
have
But
do you recall if you had more than one meeting with the dietitian?
so I I can't remember if I had more than one preoperative. I may have had two preoperative dietitian meetings, and of course the story there was, and this is and again, I kind of want to dovetail on where you talk about you had had your last, or excuse me, you had a guest recently on your show, of which I'm a regular listener, it talked about, you guys talked about the faith issues and important and so on a weight
Mhm.
loss. And so one of my sort of like divine God moments when it comes to my weight loss surgery was the fact that I got in tune with my dietitian, who I'm still with today. And I
Nice.
had really wanted to try to reach out to her and get to become a patient of hers before I had bariatric surgery, before I'd even, considered bariatric surgery. But
Mhm.
at the time I was told she wasn't taking new patients. Well, then it turns out I get on this track for bariatric surgery,
Mm.
and she's one of the providers that's on
Get
the
outta
list of
here.
approved people. No, for real. And
That's
what was so
awesome.
cool about that, and how I knew it was a divine thing, was because she's kidney certified. And so there's
Oh
very
my
few people
gosh.
nationwide, but in Oklahoma, just because of the uniqueness of having that dual designation of being not only a registered dietitian, but also a kidney or nephrology specialized RD. She's
Yes.
got that designation and that training. And so for me as a kidney patient wanting to lose weight and going through the bariatric surgery, it was truly a divine thing.
Wow.
And I love her. I mean,
That's
she's just,
cool.
you know how it is. It's like when you find that person that you connect with, then you're like,
Yes,
this is where I was supposed to be. So,
absolutely. So you have continued to see her after your surgery? Is that because of the kidney issues, the the surgery, the bariatric surgery, both?
it's honestly because, uh, I need all the help I can get, man. I haven't
Amen.
figured out the answer to this whole maintenance perfection weight loss surgery postoperative life, okay? I'm highly
Good.
flawed and I admit it, okay?
I
But,
love that.
yeah, so
Good
so
for
so
you.
I mean, not to be, flippant about it, but it is
No,
something that truly I need her wisdom and guidance, because this is an ongoing struggle for me, and the more tips, tricks, and techniques I can learn, not only can I apply them into my life, but who knows, I can share them with, my
that's
friends that
right.
come to IC and support groups. So,
Oh God, that is so awesome. So one of the things that I'm hearing you say that I really want listeners to get from you is this self-driven, impetus to seek what you needed.
oh, 100%. I mean, um, you know, and again, I just bring my experience to the table. I'm certainly not clinically trained, so we take it for what it's worth. But what I found in my journey is that you have to be successful, you have to have humility. You've got to admit,
Yes.
not only do you not have the answers. But then when you make those mistakes, then you have to be able to say, yeah, I screwed up or I failed, or but I'm getting dusting myself off and I'm getting back up and I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to keep doing this again until I'm humming along, getting the results that I want.
Amazing. Again, I want to highlight what you just said again because we are going to make mistakes and that ability to be humble and be able to say I need help. I don't know where to go from here is such an amazing piece of information and wisdom, and you embody that really well. So you had a few sessions with, or however many with the dietitian, but you've continued to see that person. That is remarkable, and I applaud you for that. Does your program, do they? And I know that you have a support group, which is what we're going to get to, but did they offer much in the way of aftercare support or education or information?
So that is a very good question. My particular program that I went to back in at that time did not offer much in the way of aftercare. They had a support group that I attended, and I really actually enjoyed it because it was a very small, um, very tiny support group versus another support group that I go to, and I'll be going to tonight. In fact, in person, that's a larger group, and so you get different group mentalities for the in-person groups depending on the size of the group. And so with regard to follow-ups, they essentially, after the surgeon released you 6 months out, the program in those days that I was part of pretty much released you. And it was something they expected you to be able to go continue with your dietitian and then to seek out any other professionals that you needed. And they would certainly speak with you and they would certainly help you. They definitely didn't shun you, but it was something
Good.
that they did not have the foundation and the framework
Sure.
to provide that. Whereas now that particular program's brought in some more folks and they're really trying to gin it up. And I'm excited because it's like you're a high school team. Like you're like, man, I'm rooting for you. Like those are my colors, like I'm
Yeah,
with you. I
I
got the
love
logo.
that.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I understand that not all programs can provide ongoing therapy, that's a big deal. But I love to hear that they encouraged and recommended people and are adding on to their program. That's a sign of a good program to me because, you know, I know from speaking with you and the kinds of things that you do in your own aftercare, you know that there are a lot of issues that come up that aren't addressed pre-surgically, nor should they be, or can they be, because they're post-operative issues that we need help with. So, one of the ways that you have given back to this community, and it's a very rare gift, and I really respect and admire you for doing this, is that you started your own support group. You have to tell us how that came to be, and where did you come up with that idea?
So, if we're going to be truthful and honest, and as an officer of the court, I have to be totally honest and candid with your audience. I have to say, I started that support group because I did it for a lot of selfish reasons. I didn't want to fall off the wagon. So, and I'm smiling when I say that because the folks that are listening to this on the podcast platforms won't see me smiling. But no, it really had to. And thank you for your kind words. But it really was a situation where I had my surgery in June of 2019, and then I started going to in-person support groups. Probably, I'd say 2 months later. I think it was about 2 months, 3 months after surgery. I started going to the in-person support groups because for me, what actually drew me in was, I was having all these hormone fluctuations. I'm like, whoa, is this normal? Like, do guys have like what's going on? Like, I need some answers here.
Yeah.
And I was looking for other guys to talk to about this. And I really did not find in person that help on that issue that I was looking for, which we're going to get into. We're going to talk about guys and girls and
Yes, please.
all things in between when it comes to post-op life. But the thing is that with regard to the sport group, I loved going to the in-person groups. I loved going to the one group that was like, Monday night was a small one, and then and then Tuesday went to a larger one, and
That's so
so
awesome.
and I love it, and I love in-person groups, and I love virtual groups, and so then fast forward what 5, 6, 7 months later, we have this thing called this COVID-19
Right.
pandemic, and the whole world shuts down, and life gets crazy, and all of a sudden, there's this chapter in the history books that everybody's going to go, "What was life like then?" For those of you living it, and of course, what happened around the world was the world shut down for a while, and of course all healthcare facilities had to abide by the protective measures in place at the time based on the best practices and the wisdom that was in effect. So all these support groups got shut down. Well, um, I kept thinking like everybody else in the United States, okay, a month later we're going to be back to normal. Well, a month later goes by, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, everything goes by, and none of these facilities were opening back up for
Right.
in-person groups, right? And so you had this population of folks that were isolated. And of course, we all know because we've all read and seen 1,000 million articles on the psychological tolls that occurred for both
Yep.
weight loss patients, for folks that have alcohol and drug issues and other
Yeah.
addiction issues. So, right, I mean, it was a mess. And so I kept waiting because, truth be told, I'm really lazy. I really don't want to have to do any more work than I'm required to. And I want to go to your support group and I just want to sit in the back and listen and don't really want to have to like say anything. Okay, give me the pamphlets, let me go. Right. But like none of this opened up, right? Like nothing happened. And so sure enough, come, October of 2020, I got tired of it. I'm like, this is lunacy. Like, nobody's got support groups, nothing. Here we are, kicking along. I'm now a year and 2 months out. Well, what? No,
Yeah.
yeah, we're a year and 4 months out, right? One thing you got to know, and everybody listening to this podcast, Aaron doesn't do math. That's why I went to law school, because I can't do math. So if you just caught me on my mathematical error, you're right. I mean, that I was wrong. So here we are, October 2020. Well, I like Zoom. I've kind of figured out this platform. I'm using it at work. I'm using it in relation to doing virtual meetings like everybody had to do in those days. And I'm like, why can't we do a support group on Zoom? And it wasn't like I was the only person in the whole world that thought this up, but I was the only one in my area that had the foolishness or the courage, pick your
Yeah.
word, to start one. And so that's what I did. Was I just out of thin air decided I'm going to make a support group, and it kind of went from there. And one thing I do want to be very, very candid with the audience about is, um I I was a terrible group leader to start with. Okay. I like to joke about that. My friend, Dr. Jenny Wood, who is a phenomenal resource, and just somebody who's really poured into my group here in Oklahoma and trained me as a group leader. Uh,
Wow.
I mean, she's phenomenal. I mean, and there's all kinds of people, honestly, Dr. Connie, that I could say, hey, here are these wonderful people that have been guests at my support group that have poured into me to help improve
Mhm.
my leadership as
I
a
love
support group.
that.
So, and Dr. Jenny Wood is certainly one of them, one of many, but she gets special kudos because I like to joke about the fact, but she'll deny it. She's very humble, but she will. I will say that she turned me from a D plus group leader to a B plus group leader because
Nice.
she was able to just help me. And so kudos to her for, what eventually evolved.
I love that. So, it's interesting to me because I'm not very A, I don't do math either. And B, I'm not very technologically savvy. I learn what I need to do, and that's what I learned to do, and that's what I do. And to me, the bariatric world, pre COVID and after COVID, I mean, we're not after COVID, but after the shutdown, the bariatric world was a very, very different place. I've been in this community for 20 years, and following the shutdown and the conferences started back up, there was an entirely new crop of people who had, during that time, unbeknownst to me, because I don't do a lot of social media, had started this phenomenal online support community, different support groups, different organizations. It was like, wow, where did this come from? It was like all these new names. And I started going to some of these meetings and meeting this new generation of people that I hadn't met before. And I was so impressed by all the technological support they were providing for one another. It was absolutely heartening to me to see A, young people getting so involved in support, and B, having it available virtually. So there you were, a guy in this mostly female world in terms of what's out there. Not necessarily there aren't a lot of men having bariatric surgery, but not a lot of them are out there sharing their stories. Not a lot of them are out there giving their time to other people. Now, that also changed during the pandemic, and there are a lot more men doing a lot more things as well. But when you started, even when you went to your support groups at your place, the in person one, were there very many men going?
So I would say that I would say that, statistically nationwide, 80% of bariatric, or weight loss surgery patients are female and 20% are guys. When it comes to support groups, it's about like 2% are guys if you're
Hmm.
lucky. If you're lucky.
Agreed.
So Were there more back then? There might have been, but you're talking about like, September, August of 2019. I can't even remember hardly,
Mhm,
back then. But
mhm.
I will tell you that other than, preoperatively, a lot of programs require you to come to a support group. I was not required to come to a support group. I was only required to come to the physician's. I mean, it was a group setting, but where he kind of explained what bariatric surgery was and
Right,
here are the kinds of
right.
surgeries and blah, blah, blah. So I had never seen a support group until I was a post-op patient.
Oh, wow. Okay, and so even today when you go to the groups in person, are there very many men at the meetings?
Generally speaking, not post-op patients. There are some, depending on the week, depending on or rather the month or the topic, you'll see maybe 5%, maybe
Mhm.
6% if you're lucky. And I mean, that's like blow out of the water
Yeah,
amount of men. Because generally speaking, guys don't come to support groups because guys aren't wired to come to support groups. And because most of the people who go to support groups are women, guys aren't really gelling in that kind of environment where I'll be honest with you, a lot of times the guys will sit at a table together,
sure.
or predominantly guys because it's I mean, and again, you're talking about all kinds of issues, but not the least of which is the way guys communicate, the way guys share information and struggles is different than with girls, and especially with their contemporaries or peers, people of similar
Mhm.
age. It's weird for guys to kind of open up about stuff
Right.
that is personal to them. So
For sure. For sure. Have you found for yourself any men that you really connect with in the bariatric space where you can really be vulnerable uh and I don't know, maybe you don't do that in your other areas of your life, but maybe you do. But do you have some contemporaries, some peers that are, you're like peer mentors to one another or can ask the questions to, like about the hormones and
I'll be honest with you, I don't. And so that is really I've had to be a trailblazer on a lot of
Mhm.
those issues where I serve for other people in that role. And a lot of times in my own support group, and one of the funniest things is I readily admit my faults. And so it's one of the things I think that a lot
Love
of
that.
my regular folks, my friends that come to support group, or even when I go to other people's support groups, either in person or virtual, I readily admit my imperfections and my own struggles and things, not only because it's honest and true, but because it shows, hey, look, you're not alone. Like we all, I don't care
Yes.
what you look like, who you are, whether you're a guy or a girl, we all are going to have similar struggles. May not be the exact struggles, but they're going to be similar.
I agree, and I think that's an amazing gift that you're willing to share because a lot of people, one of the most difficult things that I find in working with patients, not as a psychologist, but when I talk to people, they tell me I'm afraid to ask for help. I'm afraid to ask for help. I'm more than willing to give help, but I'm afraid to ask for help. So when somebody like you, the group leader, and a professional that some people would hold in such high esteem just because of your title, you're like, "Hey, I'm just like the next guy. I got questions. I don't know what to do with this situation. Let's bring it to the table." What a great example, and I really respect that from you.
Well, thank you. Can I jump in on that point real quick?
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of my friends in the bariatric community, um, and yourself, and I know, your our mutual friend Anissa Grantham, who's going to make a terrific guest on your show, and I can't wait to listen to it. Whether it's Dr. Jenny Wood or Dr. Leslie Riley, who I work with up here as well, who's been to my group a number of times as a speaker, and she's a highly sought after speaker as well. These are, all of you have professional credentials, have advanced training and certifications that I certainly don't have and don't even pretend to. And so, one of the things that really caught me as a group leader is kind of like, if you were to ask me the question, well, what was the most surprising thing as a group leader that you experienced, coming from where you did as post operative patient would be this. And that is when I get people who come to me for advice that are post-op patients. I'm like, whoa, 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 time out. Like, look, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a clinician. I don't do this stuff. I'm struggling, like walking in the blind. I mean, it's not even like the phrase, the one in the land of the blind, the one eye man is king. It's not even that. I don't even
Mhm.
have one eye on these things. I'm part of the blind. And so it's something that's one of the scariest things for me when I get questions posed, sincere questions posed by people struggling that want my advice on stuff. It's like, man, I can only share what I've experienced in the last,
Yes.
6 years and so on, so many months versus having an actual, clinical background with the education training experience that goes with that. So that's the scariest thing for me.
I love that, and that's a vulnerability you just shared there, that's scary, but I went out and I did this thing anyway. So how did you go about starting your support group?
So I think the genesis of it was that I had just sort of said, "Look, I want to make a support group." I reached out to the director of one of the large facilities here that I had been associated as far as going to their in-person group and trying to sort of tie in with them because they have a lot of resources and I loved it and they had a lot of opportunities for post-op patients. And so reached out, got sort of the blessing to be able to advertise on their Facebook group for my group and just said, "Hey, I want to do this." And so at the beginning in October of 2020, November 2020, and December 2020, maybe even January 21, I was running two groups a month. And really, because I was the
Wow.
only game in town, I wanted to accommodate people who may not be able to make a group on a Monday. So I did a Tuesday group, later in the month
Mhm.
and try to just draw in as many people as possible. And so I think that was, as I recall, sort of formed that way where it was just getting the word out on social media, specifically on a closed Facebook group for that
Okay.
organization. So getting it out.
That was a really brave thing to do. What did you have in mind? Were you just like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do," or, "We're just gonna meet and we'll figure it out"?
That was pretty like, yeah, like there's no beauty and like, just mega, intelligence on my part going on when it came to forming this thing. It was almost like stumbling into this, knowing I wanted to just have a group. I wanted to bring in a couple of particular of the in-person group leaders at that organization who were
Uh-huh.
phenomenal ladies and friends of mine. I wanted to bring their wisdom in an environment where other people could learn, I could learn, we could still have some semblance of support going on, even in the midst of the pandemic
Love that.
craziness. And so that was kind of where I started. My first speakers, if you will, or first folks were these incredible ladies who led the in-person groups in those days. Who agreed to they kind of were intrigued by this concept. And so
Yeah.
essentially, and even to this day, Dr. Connie, it's one of those things. I'm like an air traffic controller, right? Like I'm not the one flying the planes and doing the hard work. I'm just directing traffic. That's what I do. So I kind of have my Zoom meeting and I direct traffic.
I love the humility. So, did you start with always having a speaker?
So I did because I know nothing, right? Like I was like a year and 4 months out. What was I going to teach anyone? I might, I might be able to tell them, hey, look, cottage cheese is awesome when you get off liquids part of the post-op life, but what was I going to teach them? So,
That's so
it was one of
great.
those things. I needed somebody with wisdom, with experience, with, some hands-on experience. And so because one of the group leaders, she did the handouts, I really wanted to tap her knowledge with
Mhm.
using her handouts to be used in my
Mm,
support group to do them as PDF files and distribute them.
sure.
So that was kind of how we started.
That's very cool. I love that. So, you distribute a handout on your online support group? Where do you do that from? Do you do that from your Facebook group or?
So a number of different ways. So I do a lot of times distribute written materials. I do them by email because I have an email distribution list. A lot of
Sure,
the but most of what I do is through Facebook Messenger, and then I also post on Facebook in this closed group for that same
sure,
facility because they're
sure.
gracious enough to allow me to continue doing it, like
Fantastic.
what, 78, 79 meetings into this thing. So,
That is so cool.
so
So there necessity is the mother invention, right?
that's
So
right.
there you were with a need and you said, "Okay, let's do this thing." And did you just say you've had 79 or 80 meetings?
So, just to be, let me just look up to, so I'm like
Okay.
100% truthful and accurate here. So I have done, this month, October of 2025, where we're recording this podcast. This will be 79 for
That
my,
is
for
so
my group,
cool.
79 separate groups, of which, as I said, probably the first 6 to 8 might have been doubled up to a month, but otherwise that's like one a month.
That's
So,
really amazing. That's amazing. And I don't know about you, but I'm guessing this is true. I know that in my own life, and I've shared very openly that I'm in recovery from in my own addictions, and staying active in any way I can, whether it's talking with patients about their addictions or doing topics about any issue related to a recovery topic. And obesity is a disease, just like addiction is a disease. So there are recovery issues. I always talk about the recovery from the disease of obesity. It's an ongoing chronic disease, which means you're chronically recovering also. And so anything that you can listen to, when I have guests on, oh my God, I learned so much from them. And it's so fascinating. And it keeps me more accountable for my own recovery journey. Do you find that to be true as well?
oh, 100%. It's like you're reading my mail. I mean, that's exactly what and I've been so blessed. One of the things I found is how giving people are with their time to come. You came to my support group, talk to my friends this last month, which was awesome. And I'm so grateful for it, because I have really found that, I've had multiple dietitians. I've had speakers who were keynote speakers at the OAC conferences. I've had
Nice.
multiple people who have an affiliation on the national level. Our names, our names
Mhm,
your audience would know, that
mhm.
were gracious enough to come, talk to my group. And that's what I found just blows me away. And what I like about the remote or the virtual support group concept. And we can talk about pros and cons of in person versus virtual. But one of the advantages that I have running a virtual group is I can solicit input from people all over the country and all over the world. And so
Right,
I get these phenomenal folks like you, like Anissa, um, you know, like multiple speakers that are folks that have come to give their time, a lot of times more than once, to my group. And so then it may be that they're there in 2021. And then I've got a whole bunch of new people that have come to my support group since then. And then in
right.
2024, they come back. And so more people can be exposed to the wisdom of my guests. And so I love that concept because it doesn't cost anything. All we do is flip on our camera, flip on our laptop, or and there we are. You don't have to fly out here to Tulsa, Oklahoma. You wouldn't leave if you did, because you love it so much. But it's the kind of thing that you don't have to worry about. That I don't have to worry about that. It's clean, it's quick, and I love it. And so that's what I love about virtual.
And you know what else is great about the virtual thing and the work that you are doing is that it doesn't cost any of the participants anything either. And what it really turns out to be is a huge investment in their ongoing health, their not just their physical health, but all the areas, because we are whole human beings. We are physical, we are emotional, we are spiritual, and every person you have on your pot or on your in your support group that talks is touching all areas of those people. And so what an investment every one of the people who come to your support group is making in their future. And it's such an available thing.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. I'd like to say also too that the caveat to the investment is the sacrifice that they have to listen to me more than they probably want to. So, you know,
Well,
so kudos to
may
your audience for putting up with me on this podcast. But no, in
maybe
all seriousness, you know, when you come to my support group as a participant, one of the things is that I don't pretend to have wisdom I don't have, and so that's why I like to draw in the expertise of all these folks around the country that, you know, will come speak. And my topics, and so this is the other thing too, as the shot caller, as the big kahuna at the support group, because it's my group and my group alone, I get to choose the speakers. I get to choose the
nice.
topics. And so a lot of times I geek out on really weird esoteric things that like most support groups are going to cover your basics. Are going to cover, and we've done this, you know, the mindful eating and the, you know, don't try to eat too much too quickly after surgery. Stick with your program's guidelines as to the soft foods and the working into what the next steps are after
Right.
that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like those are basics. So the
Correct.
basics after your first year really are the kind of thing that you should have in your back pocket. And those aren't really going to be the things that you're struggling with
Mhm.
after year one or year two. And so I like to deep dive into the issues, or what I call advanced topics in post-op life. That's kind of the subtitle of my group. Is
Oh, I love that.
but that's really what life is, because
It
once
is.
we get out of a year or two after surgery, if you're a weight loss surgery patient, I mean that's like real life.
Yeah,
And I've, you know, I've certainly talked about this many, many times. The idea that after year one, maybe year two, if you're lucky, most people don't care that you had weight loss surgery. It's like you're just
correct.
Connie, you're just
Right.
Aaron, you're just whoever. You're not like, wow, man, I can't believe you're melting away in front of my eyes because you're losing all this weight so fast, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So how do you live in your skin after that? And what are the things that you're gonna have to do, and the techniques and the tips you're going to use to deal with the challenges that come in life? Life is always challenging, but how is
mhm,
that going to help maintain your weight loss? And so with that, I've been so privileged when I get a topic I want to cover, then I get to cover it. I'm not constrained as I would be in an institutional setting that offers support groups where they have to hit the same things over and over and over
yes,
again. I get to deep dive and bring in speakers on these weird topics, like that, you know, like one of the topics I ran was pregnancy after weight loss surgery.
nice.
So, and again, you know, it's kind of funny. Here I am as this guy, and we're talking
Yes,
about like you're doing pregnancy.
yes,
Well, I like to joke about Dr. Connie that I'm probably the only guy in the United States that gets to run a support group as a heterosexual male for women predominantly between the ages of 40 and 70. Okay. Like, how strange is this, right?
that's so cool.
So anyway, I get to run all these cool topics at my support group, and I'm blessed to be able to have a really good number of people that not only receive my invitations and here's what we're doing this month, but a lot of times they will come and they're regulars to the group. And
Yeah,
again, you know, like with anything, right? You've experienced this both probably personally and professionally. People have their seasons in life, so they're going
right.
to say, "Look, I appreciate what you brought to me, Aaron. Now I'm moving on." So that's great, and then I'm here for anyone that wants to come. So.
You know what I also love, about some of the things you were saying is that I agree with you. The first couple of years, it's like we talk about it being like a full-time job, getting this eating and the macros and the vitamins and the water. It's all focused on those sorts of things. But after you've lost the weight, and in one of the books that I wrote, there's a woman who wrote a chapter and she called it When the Lights Go Down in the Stadium. Loved her analogy because she said when she was in those first couple of years, it was that constant fuss, like, "Oh my god, you're melting away in front of my eyes, and what are you doing?" And, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." And she said all of that was so like, wow, all this attention. And for her, it was a really positive thing and it kept her motivated and kept her moving in her, along. And she said once she became just a normal person who had already lost the weight, She referred to it as the lights going out in the stadium because there was no more fanfare, there was no more fuss, there was no more, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" And that was difficult for her. But I think that it becomes difficult for some people to maintain the motivation after that point because you're not seeing all those results. And I think that is when it is even more critical to be in a support group. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I'm glad that you focus on issues that go beyond those first 2 years. Because I think, like you said, if you're involved in a clinical program that's doing support groups, that is great and wonderful. But a lot of that is repeat, repeat, repeat. And it is for the people that are newer in those first couple of years out of surgery. And I know that some programs, at least in the past, I've seen them do, early post-ops, further out post-ops, but I think those in-person support groups have really diminished to a great degree because there are online options, and I think both are really critical, but for your support group, I love that you are doing beyond the 2 years because I think that's where a lot of the, "Oh my gosh, I'm falling into old habits. Oh my goodness, what do I do in this case?" And I love that you do that. Tell me about some of the other geek topics you geek out into.
Man, I mean, 78, in the books, done. It's I mean, we've covered, like I said, we covered the pregnancy after weight loss
Love
surgery.
that.
We've covered mindful eating 12 different ways from sundown because I think that's the absolute most important single concept for anybody trying to maintain a successful post-operative lifestyle is mindful eating. We've talked about um, you know, issues of processed foods. Dr. Leslie Riley is an
Yeah.
authority on that. She, has taught me and got me really jazzed up about ultra processed foods. Not only, you know, just what they are, how easily we find them in our
Oh,
food chain. I mean, can't go anywhere without seeing ultra processed foods, and how addictive they are. How,
oh,
with the
so
salt,
much.
the sugars, and really what I find fascinating is how much energy and resources are put into designing and ginning up ultra processed foods to make them so hyper um
Palatable, hyper
oh yeah,
palatable.
hyper palatable, where for I mean, we're not even talking weight loss people here. We're just talking about in general, right? To anybody. And so as a result of that, it's something that it's so fascinating to see in relation to this high proportion of energy and commercial resources in that area versus the other side of the coin, those that want to eat healthier and want to eat non-processed foods,
Mhm.
or even organic or what have you, and the issues there. So that's one of those. We've also covered things like um, well, I mean, just issues of self advocacy. And so the
Yes.
idea of, you know, and of course, in your professional circles and maybe in your personal circles too, but the idea of standing up for oneself with regard to taking a more assertive posture that they didn't have necessarily before weight loss surgery, that they've either found or they've developed after weight loss
Absolutely.
surgery. And so, and again, that in and of itself has many, many iterations and
Mhm.
tentacles that come off of it, as do a lot of these topics, of course.
For sure, and these are very much 2-year plus out topics, and they're so critical because developing that ability to set boundaries and speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself is something when you're struggling with the disease of obesity, you want to do anything but draw attention to yourself for a lot of people. And so learning those skills is really important. How do you think, and well, I know the answer to this, but I'm curious about your response. How do you think your support group initially maybe uh, reacted to you being a male leader?
So for the very first support group, maybe the first two support groups, I had a lot more guys coming because I think it was just the curiosity of what is this?
Mhm.
and so on. And so I think in time when people see not only do I share my own vulnerabilities and struggles, but they see that I'm consistent, is then it doesn't really matter. And in fact, what's funny is so one of the things that's nice about the virtual group is you could, and this happens most of the time, honestly, with my groups, is you spin off from the main topic. So it might be, so for
Sure.
instance, this month in October, I like to run surviving the holidays. That's another, that's a
Mhm.
common theme
Sure.
in an institutional support group or in my support group. It's a necessary topic to cover. So I'm doing that again this month. And so what is likely to happen, and this typically does happen in my support group because again, you have a trusting, safe environment that's been fostered not only that's my goal, but it's because the participants have made it such, is
Exactly.
you get a lot of spin-off topics. So the ladies at the group are going to talk about where best to find used clothes, and they're going to talk about, well, have you gone to this place or in town, or have you gone over
Mhm.
here, or have you, does anybody wear Spanx or whatever, right? Like, and so they'll talk about issues that I know nothing
Yeah.
about, have no expertise. And I would even follow up with this and say, when they get into really, really personal feminine issues, somebody's always going to say, Aaron, plug your ears. But then they launch right into it,
I
about,
love it.
so it's been really neat to see that and to have that friendship and to get to know a lot of people, in the support group in that way.
Do they ask you guy things? Like, if they're curious? Do
No,
they
they have husbands and boyfriends. They're not gonna need my opinion on stuff. The last thing they want is to listen to a guy, right?
Oh,
But no, it's one of those things that I've met so many really, really incredibly strong women in the support group that I would never have had the opportunity to meet because why
yeah.
would I? Because what binds us is this issue versus, if we were out in society or, saw each other in line at Starbucks or whatever. And so
Sure.
the thing is that I've been really, really impressed with the strength of a lot of people who
For
have been
sure.
through loss.
Mm,
The death of loved ones, the loss of pets, which of course fur babies, right? Their family. The
mhm,
struggles of different illnesses or ailments that have come up post-operatively after,
mm,
they've already gotten through the weight loss surgery.
yeah.
And what I've really seen has been an absolutely like spellbinding thing for me is the connections that have arisen with a lot of the regulars that have come to my group, that
Mhm.
when they do go through those instances, the support outside of my group that's there, in those friendships where people didn't know each other before the support group. And so,
What gifts, what
oh my god, it's
meaningful.
amazing,
You
amazing.
know, and a lot of what I read, and more, is that connections are where we heal. Connections with people we can be vulnerable with and just ask the questions to and share the pain with, who are gonna be there and be compassionate, and so your selflessness in doing this is really an incredible thing, and I just cannot say how much respect and admire you doing that. You're giving up a lot of your own time, and I know there are personal gains when we do that sort of thing, but it's almost like a ministry that you're providing, and what a wonderful thing that you do. So, we wanna get you more people on your list so you can reach more people. How can people contact you? And, of course, I'll put this in the show notes as well.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love it if they wanna reach out to me either on Facebook Messenger or they want to just email me. Just email and you have my email and you can put it out there in the notes and just have them email me. I'd love to. And I know that a lot of your wonderful guests know people that might benefit from an online support group because maybe either
For
their
sure.
community doesn't have one or the night. And now mine are always done the last Tuesday of every month. It's 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern. So what would that be? 4 Mountain. I'm trying to figure this out. I
Yeah,
think
I
it would be
know.
4
I know.
Pacific and 5 Mountain. So,
It's
and
great.
if you're in Hawaii, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to do it during your lunch break. Okay. So, but the thing is that,
It's
you know,
worth it.
oh, absolutely. But no, I would love to have more folks that are looking to just kind of say, let's see if this group is right for me. Because again, every group has its flavor. And so if they just, aren't connecting with my group, I will put them in touch with other virtual support groups that might be better connections for them, because I really want everybody to be plugged in somewhere. I know for me, just even the friendships that I've made through group, I've
Mhm.
talked to, and if I want to bounce something off, and I've learned from folks, and I love that
Yeah.
just the friendships that are created, even if I'm nowhere, even not even in the same state as my
Yes.
friends. So,
Yeah. And okay, so I'll put all that information on the show notes, and I really encourage people to join your support group. The people that were there when I spoke, um, engaged, asked good questions, were willing to share. It was really, I really appreciate that. It was a good. I love being at support groups, and so I appreciate you inviting me. You know what? Here's a little fun note. Who do people say you look like as an actor? Now, who I'm thinking of, you are a much, much younger version of this person. But do people ever say, you know who you look like?
I was gonna say probably Bozo the Clown is what I'm thinking, but
Nah.
I have no idea, because I don't see myself as looking like that. So,
A very, very, very young Henry Winkler.
hey, I'll take it. I
Yeah,
have always wanted
love
a
him.
leather jacket. I was always too big to have a leather jacket. I would love to have a leather jacket, like what the Fonz had. That would be amazing. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you are delightful. And I would suspect that some of the reasons that people keep coming back to your support group is you are really fun and funny.
it's the door prizes, Dr. Connie. I mean, let's just I have great door prizes.
Oh, you're a riot. Okay, so anything that you would like to share before we wrap up? And I thank you profusely.
Oh, no, I mean, look, the honor's mine. I appreciate you allowing me to be in the ear of your audience. I mean, this is just really cool. I love the guests that you have,
Thank you.
in the diverse subject matter that you have, and just really, really interesting things. But I think the thing I would close with is this, and that is, everybody who has weight loss surgery is going to be on a roller coaster. I mean, again, that's life, right? We're all on a roller coaster in
Right.
whatever our professional and personal lives are. But the thing is that it is a lot harder to maintain long-term weight loss than what it looks like by the glitzy and glamorous results photos that you see a lot online, or in the um, in the sort of like try bariatric surgery or do GLP-1 medication or this, that, and the other. And it's going to be a magic cure. It's none of
Yeah.
those are magic cures. Of course, I mean, that's just intellectual. Everybody who's listening to this knows that. But a lot of times when we're going through year one post-operatively, or even year two, because I was blessed, I had a really long honeymoon period after weight loss surgery, that when you get 2 years out, and you kind of hit that brick wall of life where it's like, man,
Mhm.
now I gotta like the training wheels are off. What do I do
Correct.
now? There's all this temptation and this, that, and the other. I would just want to say, look, you are going to have struggles. You're going to have temptations. You're going to have frustrations. You're going to have social awkwardness. You're going to have a lot of like, okay, what do I do now kind of moments. But man, stay with it, because you're worth it, and your success is worth it. And just because you plateau doesn't mean anything. Just continue going back to basics and working through your program. And so I want to kind of dovetail on the lights out at the stadium that you brought up, which is really cool. And that
Perfect.
is this. So all those athletes on the field of the stadium on Sunday, if it's football, they have worked all week to practice. They've run their drills, they've run their plays, they've done what they're supposed to do. They've gone back, they've watched the films, they've done what they needed to do before it comes game time on Sunday. Similarly, for the weight loss patients, it is one of those things. Your drills, you're watching films, you're doing all the boring, mundane, behind the scenes, nobody sees stuff, like taking your vitamins and your supplements. like drinking your water, like
Mhm.
making sure that you are doing what you need to do to eat slow enough that you're eating mindfully and appreciating what you're eating, and so on, and all the basics, all the boring stuff. That's all the big stuff. That's all the important stuff that leads to your results long
Amen.
term and gives you, and that's your Sunday, and your NFL Sunday. So don't get discouraged by the fact that you have to have routines, you have to have healthy habits, and you have to be able to constantly put the work in to be able to maintain, and that's okay. And it's just, I don't know that.
Reality.
Oh, it's the reality, and it's just, it's like, I as anybody who knows me knows, I love to quote Steve Harvey, because I think Steve Harvey is a brilliant man, and he's been beat up by life enough that he has this incredible wisdom. And one of the things that
True.
he says, and I love to quote him on this, is that the road to success is always under construction. Meaning, if you want to get the results that you want, you're gonna have to put the work in, but then you also have to understand that it is a continuous work, and once you accept that and believe that, then it's like, great, you're set. Come to
It's what I
support
do.
group, talk to your dietitian, talk to your psychiatrist or psychologist about the struggles, talk to your surgeon, talk to all your program professionals, and just do it, man. Make it happen. So that's really what I want to leave everybody with, is a spirit of optimism, a spirit of hope, and like, you can not only do this short term, you can do it long term, and you deserve to be able to. So,
That's
man, make
so
it
true.
happen.
Love that. Do it. It's the effort and the constant doing. Here, I'll tell you a little story, and then we'll sign off. I agree with you about Steve Harvey, and I was on the Family Feud, and he was the host. And in between all the takes, because we were there for 2 full days, he shares that wisdom with the audience. He's constantly educating it. I loved it. He was a great guy. All right. So you are a great guy too. And I just thank you so much, Aaron Goodman, for being a guest today. And I will let you know this is going to air this week on Wednesday, which will be October the 14th, 2025. So let all of your people know, okay?
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity to get to hang out with you. I love
Thanks.
it. Thank you so much for being so gracious to allow
Oh,
me as a
you're
guest.
welcome. We'll meet again.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.